In 541 AD, the Byzantine Empire faced an outbreak of the first recorded bubonic plague, the Justinian Plague. This deadly epidemic killed up to 50 million people, about half of Europe's population at the time. The plague was caused by Yersinia pestis, the same bacterium responsible for the Black Death centuries later. It spread rapidly through trade routes, striking the bustling city of Constantinople and other major Mediterranean ports. The symptoms were terrifying: high fever, swollen lymph nodes, and in most cases, death within days. The impact was devastating. Although Emperor Justinian I survived the disease, his empire never fully recovered. The plague weakened the Byzantine military, caused economic collapse, and left entire cities deserted. Modern genetic studies have traced the bacterium responsible, revealing how diseases like this evolve and reappear throughout history. Typhus was a silent killer that decimated Napoleon's army during his invasion of the Russian Empire, playing a decisive role in his downfall. The bacterial disease, caused by Rickettsia prowazekii, spreads through body lice, thriving in the unsanitary conditions of military camps and war zones. Symptoms included high fever, severe headaches, rash, and delirium, often leading to death if untreated. As Napoleon's army advanced into Russia in 1812, typhus swept through the ranks, killing thousands long before they reached the battlefield. Some historians argue that typhus played a crucial role in the failure of Napoleon's Russian campaign. It wasn't until the early 20th century that French scientist Charles Nicolle discovered that lice were the carriers of typhus. This discovery led to improved hygiene and the eventual control of the disease. Today, antibiotics can effectively treat typhus, saving countless lives in areas affected by war and poverty. Imagine an empire brought to its knees, not by war, but by a deadly, invisible enemy. The Antonine Plague, likely smallpox or measles, spread rapidly through the Roman Empire, devastating cities and decimating the military. Named after the ruling Antonine dynasty, this epidemic first appeared in 165 AD, when Roman soldiers returned from campaigns in the east. Over the next 15 years, it claimed the lives of an estimated 5 million people, including Emperor Lucius Verus. The disease didn't just take lives, it reshaped the Roman economy, weakened military power, and created a manpower crisis that contributed to the empire's decline. The historian Dio Cassius described entire towns falling silent as the streets filled with the dead. In 1854, one doctor's revolutionary discovery changed how we fight epidemics forever. The 19th century saw multiple cholera pandemics, spreading from India across Europe, Africa, and the Americas, and killing millions. Cholera is caused by the bacterium Vibrio cholerae, which spreads through contaminated water and food. At the time, people believed cholera spread through miasma, or bad air. But during a major outbreak in London, physician John Snow mapped the cases and traced the source to a contaminated water pump on Broad Street. His groundbreaking work in epidemiology proved cholera was waterborne, revolutionizing public health. Despite this discovery, cholera continued to devastate cities with poor sanitation. It wasn't until the construction of sewage systems and access to clean drinking water that cholera outbreaks became less frequent. Today, modern treatments like oral rehydration therapy and vaccines help manage cholera in regions where sanitation is still an issue. Smallpox was one of the deadliest diseases from the 16th to 18th centuries, wiping out entire civilizations. Caused by the variola virus, smallpox spread rapidly, especially after European colonists introduced it to the Americas, leading to the collapse of indigenous populations. Symptoms were severe: high fever, fatigue, and characteristic pustules that covered the body. Survivors were often left scarred for life, and the disease had a death rate of 20 to 30%. Smallpox devastated indigenous peoples in the Americas, wiping out nearly 90% of their population and changing the course of history. In 1796, English physician Edward Jenner made a groundbreaking discovery. He developed the first successful vaccine using cowpox, which provided immunity to smallpox without causing the disease. By 1980, after a global vaccination campaign, smallpox became the first disease to be eradicated from the human population. A rare victory in the battle against pandemics. The 2014 to 2016 Ebola epidemic was the deadliest outbreak of Ebola ever recorded, infecting over 28,000 people and claiming more than 11,000 lives. The Ebola virus, a hemorrhagic fever, spreads through direct contact with bodily fluids of infected individuals or animals, and has a mortality rate as high as 90% in some outbreaks. The epidemic began in Guinea in late 2013, quickly spreading to neighboring Liberia and Sierra Leone, overwhelming local healthcare systems. Symptoms were brutal: fever, vomiting, diarrhea, and severe internal and external bleeding. There was no proven cure or vaccine when the epidemic began, so the primary strategy was containment through quarantine, isolation, and protective gear for healthcare workers. By 2015, experimental treatments and vaccines, such as the RVSV-Zbov vaccine, were deployed, showing promising results. The epidemic was declared over in 2016, but the global health community learned valuable lessons about rapid response and preparedness. 1/3 of the world's population was infected, and up to 100 million people died in just 2 years. The Spanish flu of 1918 to 1919 was one of the deadliest pandemics in modern history, caused by the H1N1 influenza A virus. It spread rapidly as soldiers returned home from World War I, bringing the virus to every corner of the globe. Despite the name, the virus likely didn't originate in Spain. Spain, being neutral during the war, openly reported on the outbreak, while other countries suppressed information to maintain morale during the war. The Spanish flu disproportionately affected young, healthy adults, leading to sudden and severe pneumonia, often killing within days. With no vaccines or effective treatments, public health responses focused on non-pharmaceutical measures: social distancing, quarantines, and mask wearing. The pandemic eventually burned out in 1919 as populations developed immunity or the virus mutated. However, the lessons learned from the Spanish flu greatly influenced global responses to later pandemics, including COVID-19. 1/3 of Europe's population wiped out in just 4 years. The Black Death was unlike anything the world had seen before, sweeping through Europe from 1347 to 1351 and killing an estimated 25 to 50 million people. Caused by Yersinia pestis, the same pathogen behind the Justinian Plague, the Black Death spread rapidly through fleas on rats aboard ships traveling major trade routes. Symptoms were horrifying: high fever, painful swelling of lymph nodes, called buboes, and darkened skin patches due to internal bleeding. Death typically followed within days. The pandemic reshaped Europe in profound ways. Entire villages were wiped out, causing labor shortages that shifted power from landowners to peasants. Fear of the plague also led to widespread persecution of minority groups, who were often scapegoated for its spread. The Black Death left a permanent mark on European culture, with Danse Macabre, or the Dance of Death, becoming a popular motif in art and literature. A new virus appeared in 1981 that forever changed global health. HIV and AIDS emerged as a deadly epidemic caused by the human immunodeficiency virus, which weakens the immune system, making the body vulnerable to infections and cancers. By the mid-1980s, HIV had spread worldwide, causing panic and stigma. Initially, AIDS was considered a death sentence, with no effective treatments. The virus spread through blood, sexual contact, and from mother to child during childbirth or breastfeeding. Public misunderstanding and discrimination against affected groups contributed to the challenges in addressing the epidemic. In the mid-1990s, antiretroviral therapy was developed, which, while not a cure, could suppress the virus to undetectable levels, allowing people with HIV to live long, healthy lives. Today, Over 38 million people are living with HIV. But the epidemic continues, particularly in low-income countries. Research into vaccines and a cure is ongoing, providing hope for a future without HIV and AIDS. The COVID-19 pandemic is one of the most significant global health crises in modern history, with over 770 million confirmed cases and more than 6.9 million deaths by 2023. Caused by the novel coronavirus SARS-CoV-2, the virus quickly spread from Wuhan, China, in late 2019, leading to global lockdowns, travel bans, and an unprecedented disruption to daily life. COVID-19 primarily spreads through respiratory droplets, causing symptoms ranging from mild, flu-like illness to severe respiratory failure. Early on, there were no effective treatments or vaccines, and healthcare systems worldwide were overwhelmed. A major turning point came in late 2020, with the rapid development of vaccines, including those from Pfizer, BioNTech, and Moderna, which used mRNA technology. By the end of 2021, billions of people had been vaccinated, significantly reducing the severity of illness and slowing the virus's spread. Antiviral drugs like Paxlovid also became critical in treating COVID-19. While the pandemic was brought under control by 2023, it left a lasting impact on healthcare, economies, and societies worldwide. COVID-19 spurred advancements in vaccine technology and reinforced the importance of global cooperation and preparedness.